They're all being stunt cast, meaning they're all going to stars who have names,
people,
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's very tough. Like when I came up in the early '90s, you get yourself a good guest star role, get seen, and that would lead to other things. It's very tough to do now.
Is it difficult? One of the reasons they just don't want to speculate, they can't afford to lose, so they want to make sure they have some people of star.
It's
power.
all economics, and it's also these entertainment companies are run by corporations who are looking at quarterly statements.
Absolutely.
So that's what it is. It all comes down to money.
Mark in Redford, Michigan. Mark, very close to where my cousins live. How are you?
Yeah, greetings from your old hometown, George.
Sure thing.
Mr. Real, good to talk to you. I have a real quick question here. What was it like playing what amounted to the only gay vampire on True Blood that never really had a supernatural scene except for a really awesome death scene?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I was so happy to be able to do something like that. It was a real stretch for me to play somebody like that, and it was a difficult process because it was mostly head acting. As you know, I was tied up for the majority of the 3 episodes that I did, so it was challenging as an actor to make that interesting while you're completely tied up.
What was the moment of your career, Stephen, where it just hit you and you said, my gosh, this is really happening to me, where you started pinching yourself in the morning?
Oh, gosh. For theater, it would be doing Driving Miss Daisy with Julie Harris, and for television, it would probably be doing the pilot of News Radio, which was, I think, working with some of the smartest, funniest people ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's go to Pasadena, California on the wild card line. Hi, John, you're up with us.
Oh, hi, George, Stephen.
Howdy.
Here I am turning on a show looking for UFOs, and here's Stephen Root.
What's that guy doing here?
Oh, Stephen just came down from one.
Absolutely, completely got me sideways. Very wonderful surprise. I was wondering if you could say anything about your experience with Idiocracy, which I thought was just this side of being a Mike Judge satirical masterpiece. Maybe it is, but the studios knocked it around so much.
Yeah, it was it was a problem. I'll tell you what, I had a blast because it was like it was old home week for me, going back to work with Mike on a film as opposed to an animated project. And it was, again, hugely fun to go back to Austin and film. So everybody there was familiar with everybody else. So it was old home week. It was tremendous fun.
Mike Judge is a genius.
I think so.
Yeah.
And he can talk to himself without, as you know, he can do Beavis and Butthead without stopping. He can do Hank Hill and Boomhauer, without stopping. It takes me a couple of seconds to change from Bill to anybody else that I do on that show.
The Great Cornholio. Let's go to London, Ontario, Canada, east of the Rockies. Hello, Brad. Go ahead.
Hi, how you doing, Mr. Norrie?
Great.
Hi, Steve. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Pretty good.
Good.
I wanted to ask you, how did you get into doing voice acting?
I was lucky enough that Mike Judge was. I'd done some Saturday morning cartoons prior to doing King of the Hill, but I was lucky enough that Mike Judge was a News Radio fan. Knew that I had done a lot of Southern theater and some Southern TV and film, and said, "Why don't you come in and try one of these guys?" And I ended up auditioning for Dale first, which was just wrong. That wasn't the right conspiracy guy for that. And then he said to try Bill, and we had done it on we were doing it over the phone. So he was auditioning me, on a speakerphone, and I finished doing my stuff, and he said, "Well, that's about as funny as that can be." Luckily, he gave me the job.
Casey Kasem, and I love the guy, plays the part of Shaggy in Scooby-Doo.
Absolutely, for many, many years.
And when you're talking with him, as I do often, and then you listen to Shaggy, you go, can't be the same guy.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
It is
the
incredible.
art that you folks have.
Well, we just, I think there's a lot of character guys who've got a corral of, characters that they're strong with, and they try to put those out.
Next up, let's go to Las Vegas, Nevada. Elaine, welcome to Coast to Coast. Hi there.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Pretty good.
I want to, with a big fat grin on my face, I want to ask Stephen there, how many red stapler jokes do you get?
I'll tell you, I see them almost every day, no matter where I go, and I'm thrilled. If you bring one out to me, I'll sign it up for you.
Seriously, because the big story on that one was because of the movie Office Space. That's the reason why the super company actually started making those darn things. That's
people started to request them when the movies started getting like a cult status after a couple of years, and they just got so many requests they finally had to make one. Although the one they made is not the exact model of the one in the film.
Well, you're popular among us computer geek types, and I appreciate all that.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You don't look like Milton.
Thank God.
You know, so I'd assume if you're walking down the street, do you get recognized at all?
I do, strangely, and I ask them the same question. I say, "Do I look like Milton to you?" And they say, "No, they've seen me in other stuff." And but yeah, no, I get recognized a fair amount. It's mostly for Office Space. A lot of it, the Jimmy James from News Radio,
right,
and a lot of it from Dodgeball.
I get nailed a lot when I'm going through the TSA folks at the airport.
Absolutely.
And
I'm
they
right
get
with
your
you.
Boarding pass.
Right with you, brother.
They look at your name and they go, "Are you?" And then you're stuck.
And then that says like, yeah.
And then the people behind you go, "Would you just move him out of the way?"
I don't care what you do, move.
Next up, let's go to George in Houston, Texas. First-time caller. George, thanks for calling.
Yes, I just wanted to know what's the experience level you need to do voiceovers in movies.
Well,
good question.
It's a good question. It's very, very tough to break into. I was able to break into it because I'd done television before film, but you'll find more and more that stars and recognizable names are doing voices now because the studios don't want to take a chance on an unknown. So it's I got to tell you, it's incredibly difficult to break in.
I got a friend who moved from St. Louis to here. Mark Rawlings is his name, and he's doing some voice work starting up in great radio talent from his St. Louis days. Mm-hmm. And he's just starting, Stephen, to get his jobs, but it's tough.
Oh, yeah. As you know, Maurice LaMarche does 99% of them, and other four guys do. And there's
Don LaFontaine, God rest his soul.
God rest his soul. Yeah. All those guys. They're the big five. But it's you're lucky if you can break in. You really are.
Next up, we go to Oklahoma. Dan, east of the Rockies. Take it away, Daniel.
Yes, sir. I was just wondering, when you pick a script, is it strictly vocabulary, or what goes into determining what kind of script you would necessarily pick up or feel comfortable with?
No, that's a good question. Mostly for me at this stage of my career, it's about the writing of the script. I think I've been lucky enough to be on a couple of shows that have been excellently written. At this point, to me, it's a waste of time to do anything that isn't, I think, challenging for me and really well written. So it's all on the page. Otherwise, you're standing there with your mouth open. So for me, it's not the character. It's not the size. I mean, it's not necessarily the size of the character or the size of the role. It's the interest level that I would have within the piece that is well written.
Stephen, who picks the specific voice for the character that you play? Do you have to give, let's say, the director an option of 3 or 4 different voice characters, and he says, "I like that one"? Sure,
absolutely. If you're offered a job and they know that your work, that you do different voices, they'll go in and say, let's do a test of this voice, and you'll do 3, like you said, maybe 3 or 4, and you'll get adjusted and directed by the director in the session before you start the session. That happens a lot in the Saturday morning cartoon stuff. How do you want to do this villain or this bad guy? But if you're doing a straight audition for, say, a new animated movie, you'll come up with it yourself first, bring it in, show it to them, and if they like that one, then you'll try some stuff around that.
You ever get tired of people coming up to you saying, "Hey, can you do this for me?"
Well, sometimes you feel like, a monkey doing tricks. It's like, I do this for a living.
But you seem like a very approachable, nice guy.
Oh, sure, of course, and you're happy to do it within reason. If you get it like 100 times a day, then it's going to be a little much. Yeah.
So if you go out to dinner here in L.A., they leave you alone?
Pretty much so. I think people are really respectful out here, as they are on the East Coast in New York as well. They know you're working for a living, and if you're having dinner, you got so much amount of time, and they've been very respectful here.
Stephen, invited back here anytime you